Let me give you a wide angle, or a wider angle. Hello, Reno. Planning on doing a shorter stream today. Hello, Maria Gonzalez. Hello, Ada. The brush softens things and also adds a little bit of variation to it. I might try doing some faces that are smaller and a little bit sketchier than scanning them at a pretty high resolution and making them like a larger face. Any questions or anything happening? I'm a little bit distracted trying to just keep up with my time because I don't have as much time today. This is abstracted. I call these face loops in a different way. Like I have face loops that are looping animations, and these are face loops that are sort of simplified contour drawings. Continuous line bits. Mm-hmm. Well, hello, Eileen. I'm thinking about something. I want to see if I can rig something up. Let's not have the extension cable on it. That's not an extension cable. Do I have USB extensions in here? Yes, I do. No. I'm all over yonder. I'm trying to rig something up and I need a cable to do so. And I'm trying not to have to disconnect and reconnect anything at the moment. Wait, is there one? No, one's not connected there. I'm sure that my USB extensions aren't in here. I'm just being lazy, not getting down in the midst of things. What's that? That's 2/4 inch. And that's straight that. Okay, I'm gonna check something down here. But it's just this one. Okay, I'm gonna have to unplug this for a second. Found it. Okay. Sorry for the disruption there. I'm going to try to get a feed. I might try to see if I can. So I have this camera. It's a little bit finicky at times, so it might not work super great, but I can extend the cable on it and unhook the scanner temporarily, connect this guy, and turn this on. Don't need that to be super bright. Macro. So let's get rid of this and add this camera. I'm only 15 minutes in, I'm good. Video capture device. XP5. Sorry, that's a little bit odd there. Let's just make this a 640 guy. Okay. So this is camera. And let's see what the distance sort of deal is. How's that work? That works okay. What I'm going to try and do is just straight up tape this down. Is this the wet guy? That's the wet guy. Okay. So let's just do it. Let's see how it goes. I just want to test out a different intimacy in drawing stuff. I might have to angle this. Let's see. Does that get in? Nope, that is not in this shot at all. Okay. Testing things out. Seeing how it goes. Thanks for bearing with me. Reno bearing with me. I do have a... Wait. No, that's not the right thing for this. Okay. What I'm trying to do is have a viewpoint that it's like you can watch it painting. This might just have to be a weird drawing that I do. Like a weird... it's still not quite angled. I think it would have to be that I could try this. Yeah, it's probably best. Creating a little notch. Ideally, I would do this like with a Dremel tool or something. But what I have right now is just a pocket knife. That looks very threatening. Sorry. See if that holds this in place. I think only if I do it at... I've got to give myself enough clearance. Let's get a little bit harder on this. I'm going to use my box cutting blade because it's sharper. It is so much sharper. Okay. I'm going to turn this off for a second while I'm cutting so that you're not seeing a blade like shoving into your camera feed. This won't be for when I'm animating because this sort of contraption is difficult to hold, so the accuracy and such with trying to do this with a animation where I've got a lot more little details of things and it's not quite as broad of strokes in a literal sense. Let's see how this rests. A bit better. Still want it a little further down. Thanks for bearing with me. This isn't the most entertaining thing to be watching. Don't blame me if you decide to hop off. Need a bit more. Testing something out. Also, I have a hard out at 4 p.m. so I'm doing this for like 5 odd minutes. Getting closer. Gotta widen this a little bit up top here. Let's go out. Don't have to go towards the apex each time. See how that's going. It's better. A little bit more down here. Okay, let's test this out. Getting a notch. Turning this back on. Come on. No. Okay. Yeah. Alright, let's see if I can successfully tape this down. It's still visible. Let's get a little tape going. And a bit more. Front end of things. decently in view. I'm going to try and place something underneath here so that it's going up a bit. This is a bit... Hello. I can't read your name right now. I'm distracted with stuff. You can always see how dirty stuff is when you get a macro shot of it. Turn this brightness up, get this focus on the tip of this. Do I need this brightness up? Helps a bit. Okay, let's try this out. See how it looks on stuff. Okay, now we're just going to do some general sketches on some paper, just some plain paper, which I have thrown over here. I believe I got a stack of stuff. That's been used. Underneath that is some unused paper. I'll be okay drawing with it. It's not probably my favorite, but as far as just having a line drawn sort of thing, should be fine. You have to behave a little bit differently, and there's a little less feel to it, but I'm just curious about this now. It's not uncomfortable, but it's not as comfortable. That's an interesting perspective. Is this in focus? Let's see, as I'm dragging this. I've used sort of weird setups, not terribly dissimilar from this. Let's see how. Can you see when it goes over here? Not as well, but I don't know if this is how to properly use a brush. I might need a better experience or more experience with this, because this is also just weirdly taped. Yeah, I think I should have a little bit of brightness coming up. Let's draw a blockhead guy. I get far less feedback with this. I've tried using stuff like this in the past. It works okay. But there's also a little bit of... I can work with this, but it's harder and I have to work a little slower. Oh, I also didn't think about the fact that, or I guess I ended up doing okay for the perspective of things. This one is a little bit more awkward. I don't have as much of a feeling of the brush and how it's working. It would make sense that you would have a connection to small perspective sort of deal, sort of stuff. Let's try making this a little bit larger. Well, this is kind of out of focus. Removing this up, shifting this stuff a little down, shifting this over as well. Draw a bigger guy. kind of facing. There you go. Let's go even one further. This guy's smaller now. Go even further over. Okay, that's as far as over as it'll go. Sorry, I'm watching the delayed thing because I can't really draw and see how it works simultaneously. I gotta have a little bit of a difference. You get a feel for how much you can push the bristles. So let's get a piece of paper. There's a limitation to how much you can push without the bristles like flicking out from underneath it. There's always like a sort of dragging to it. You gotta get a feel to the bristles. So like if you go like this and then immediately turn back, you can get that sort of, okay, you get that bit to it where you're going and pulling back. So you have to sort of like let it come to a point and then come down, or you have to just pick it up and pull it in that same direction. So you can have different sort of edges to the ink. Also, if you angle it too harsh and you just push forward, then you're gonna separate the bristles. But if you angle it and pull up, they'll stay together. And angle the opposite direction, and you'll be better. And even with turning stuff, you have a limitation on that. So like, that's about as tight as I can go confidently. But if I go like that, then it pushes the bristles out. And that's also because I pushed down. So as I was going up, if I then push down, it doesn't work. But if I go up to a lighter point, depends on how thick your line is as well. So if you have a very thick line where you're putting down a lot of pressure, you have to sort of curve into it, but even then there's still a little bit of pushing out that happens there. Otherwise it's sort of like you have to work with it and get a feel for it. If I was doing like a thick, harsh corner, I would probably use a thicker brush. Or I have to sort of go one way, come the other way, and then come back in and fill in the gap. You also have to get a feel for how much ink will last for how long. So you can sort of see when I get to harsher shifts in direction, I lift up a bit more so that it's thinner. Brushes are better for softer edges. Because the material itself is softer. And then here you can start to see where the ink runs out a bit. And that's dry brush, where sections of the brush have ink on them, but other sections don't. You can do that intentionally, but oftentimes it happens accidentally. But brushes, just sort of by their design, usually have a point at the end of whatever line you're drawing. More so than a marker or a pen or something. At some point somebody asked about cross-hatching. You can cross-hatch with brushes, you just have to have a different sort of control to it and know the weight as you're going along. I'm not the best at it, and this is not the best means of doing it either. Something that took me a while to realize with cross-hatching and the like is that there's thickness impacts, like your understanding of where it's going, but also line direction. It's not the best example. But like, you can do a lot to inform the understanding of a surface if you have line direction. That's one thing that is lacking from a lot of automated cross-hatching sort of things. Because you could have a cone or something like a cone and cross-hatch completely on a grid to show the darkness as it goes up and around or whatever, to give it some sense of form. But if you have that same shape and you take the lines and you follow the contours of the object, the sense of shape and direction come with that as well. Let's see. So like this one is just on a grid, and this one has some curve, and the curve helps to imply the form. But cross-hatching with a brush, you'd probably work either with a smaller brush or a larger scale. Drawing these faces at close-up focal length only really does well in real time. If this is sped up, it becomes a lot more chaotic and less direct for the understanding of what's happening. I'm just drawing stuff now. Shapes or what have you. I was just thinking, you might have a better sense of like how to work a brush if you think about using a broom or something. You can't shove a broom forward because it'll just, the bristles will flake and shove all of the stuff you're trying to sweep in different directions. You have to pull the broom with you to give a little bit of an angle at least, or have it soft enough to where it's going in a direction, not push against all the bristles, because they'll separate out and also start to hurt your brush and things. Okay, it's coming up on 4, so I'm gonna turn this guy off. Here. Scan a couple things. Which means I gotta disconnect this guy as well. Listen. This one in. Cut this back to a little more central. You guys got any questions about stuff? I'm gonna scan this guy at a pretty high resolution. Use a custom size. Which means I might not have time immediately. Let's do 2400. There. Live designs, new folder, 11-25-2020. Copy that, 'cause I'm gonna use it in the name shortly. Scans. Macro loops. I guess I have a sort of depends on, I think it's just personal preference and what you get used to as far as working with a brush, and quality of brush. I don't know. I like working with small brushes because there's a little less variance in the changes in quality. Like if you're working with a tiny little brush, it's not as bad to. I'm just gonna rip this off. Okay. As long as it comes to a decent point. I like soft brushes, but also you get different line qualities depending on what size brush, how you use it, how soft it is. I don't know. I'm not the most informed on best practices with brushes and things. Something that you need to just test and experiment with on your own. Or find some people who have a little bit more experience and are better at explaining differences in brushes and such. This is going to take a minute to scan because I'm doing it 2400 DPI. I probably won't get around to posting this for a minute. I don't know how long I want my hair to grow. I'm just letting it grow for the moment. I figure I'd do the extreme of, or do the opposite of what I did before, where earlier this year I just did a buzz cut, which I've never done before. And since then I have not had it cut, so it's been a minute. When I was in high school and part of college. Oh, wait, cancel that. I need to do an overview. But in high school and part of college, I had hair that was down to about yay length. Don't need 2400. Let's just do 600 on this bad boy. Let's do 1200. Use that custom size. Okay. So I don't know. I'll grow up my hair until I don't want to anymore. I do know that I'm not. My hairline's pretty high up, and so I don't like putting my hair in a ponytail. I don't prefer that look. I studied graphic design in college. Let me do one more of these guys. Scan the whole thing, and then I'm gonna hop off and get ready for something I have at 4:30. My animation process is primarily manual, but like I digitize everything. Sometimes I trace or reference stuff that's done or edited in a digital space. It's a mix. I think people have a different sort of feel with beards than long hair. Depends on whether or not the person wants a more professional feeling. I can't really grow facial hair all that well. I can grow an okay mustache, which I also did earlier this year. I shaved my head, not like flat, but a buzz cut, and then let my facial hair grow out. I tried growing a beard and I was like, no. But mustache, left that going. And I had mustache and a shaved head, and the first time I went to my dentist because I have weak teeth a lot of the time. I have continuously weak teeth, but filling had sort of separated off my tooth, so I'd have it replaced. But I went to my dentist when they opened back up for stuff, and you have to wear a mask when you go in, and sign a waiver both for yourself and going through a checklist of like, have you done this, any symptoms, take your temperature, do as best as you can. And when I took off my mask for them to do some x-rays, the dental assistant laughed because mustache was happening. Handmade, or do I use software? I use software to do a little bit of editing here and there. It's a mixed thing. It's primarily physical, but I have to digitize it, and in digitizing it I have a little bit of control over some elements like brightness, darkness, contrast, things of that nature. Alright, it's just about 4 now. I have to head out, but thank you all for watching and being patient as I was figuring out how to cut into my microscope and attach a brush to it, which I have since ripped the brush off. I'm gonna throw a snooze on that alarm. But yeah, so I'm gonna edit today's thing a little bit differently because the main interest is that up close shot of the faces, so it might be like 3 or 4 faces instead of a time lapse because there's not as much of a overarching thing to convey in that way. But yeah, I'll post this up on YouTube, do something or other with what I did today to here on Instagram. If you want to watch this or other streams in full that are from previous days, previous occasions, you can do so by going to youtube.com, heard of it, and searching TraceLoops, and it should pop up. And if you want to follow on TikTok, you can do so there. It's the same username, TraceLoops. I'm almost to 10,000 followers there, which means I can start to try and see whether or not I can get like $5 off of their creator fund thing. And if you want to look at merchandise that I have, shirts, some prints and such, you can go to traceloops.com/store. If you're based in the US, you can purchase things directly from the store. If not, email me and I'll work out the difference in cost for shipping outside of the US. Usually it's between $5 and $25 more. Most of the shirts are just $5 more for taxes and odds and ends of other things. But if it's a print, a shirt that I personally have, or a pin or something like that, then like the minimum international shipping for Europe is like $15. Canada, it's like $7 to $11 or something. I forget, but the price goes up if it's certain items, which is why I have to. I don't have a system in place currently on my web store to accommodate for that for different locations for shipping and such. But you can email me, traceloops@traceloops.com. You can message me here on Instagram, direct message me, but emailing me is a better system for reaching me. And I'm more likely to respond and notice it faster because I get message requests buried in Instagram as opposed to just like a you got an email notification. So thank you all for watching. I won't be here tomorrow because of holiday stuff. Plan on coming back Friday unless I have some other issues come up, but not planning on streaming tomorrow because of holiday things. I'm not going anywhere, but holiday stuff. Thank you all for watching. Be back Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Eastern Daylight Time. Okay, thank you all. And enjoy your holiday if you're celebrating, or your time off, or not time off, or whatever. Adios.